again this week with America's Mayor Live. And we will keep you up to date on everything going on. But let's go right now to the selection of the Pope. You know, over the weekend, it was quite a set of ceremonies for the burial of the Pope. The Pope was here's a remarkably beautiful. Let's see. Let me get the right one first before you do anything, my friend.
So what's going to happen? What kind of Pope are we going to get?
Well, here on that board are not necessarily the only candidates by any means, right? So I can get that to stay nicely here. Okay, not necessarily the only candidates, but these would be the 6 consensus leading candidates. So let's see. I'm trying to get it up there better, so we eliminate some of that down there, but we can't. Okay, all right. Well, here goes.
Oh, now you can see
it. It would be hard to say whether Cardinal Sarah or Cardinal Parolin are the leading candidates.
Now, it's Sarah? That's how it's pronounced?
Sarah. Cardinal Robert Sarah. He's a native of Guinea. He's viewed as a thoroughgoing conservative, a champion of Orthodox Catholicism, not Orthodoxy. Remember, that's a different branch of Christianity. He's author of a book called The Power of Silence. He was the former head of the Vatican's Congregation of Divine Worship, much closer to Pope Benedict than to this Pope, and wrote with Pope Benedict a very, very strong defense of a celibate priesthood in 2019. That's Cardinal Sarah. He would also be a strong advocate, which strangely becomes one of the sticking points here, which I find completely remarkable as a Catholic. I understand that the sticking points are obviously, let's say, female priests. 2, married priesthood. 3, blessing gay marriage. They haven't gotten, I don't think, to trans. I mean, those would be verboten completely. I think, although the German church, whoa. But I'm talking about the serious ones but of amazement to me, of those 3, which seem difficult, the one that's the least difficult seems to be the biggest problem. And that is the Latin Mass and pre-Vatican II Catholicism. I may be missing one. You tell me if I am. Here they are. Female priesthood. Here they are. Female priesthood is number 1, right? Number 2, married priesthood. Blessing of gay marriage. and finally, Latin Mass. So in most cases, those are the things that would separate the conservatives from the liberals. How far did Francis go on those? He seemed to have extended as far as he could go with females' role in the church. At some point, it looked like he was going to create female deacons. Deacon is the order right before priest. You enter into 7 orders to become a priest. Begins with acolyte, holy boy. It includes exorcist right along the way. And then the major orders are up until 7, right? 5 is subdeacon. 6 is deacon. And then after you're a deacon, you become a priest.
So
Now,
there's an order of exorcist?
Oh yeah, you are ordained an exorcist. You are given the power to drive the devil.
Are there a lot of them out there?
Every priest is an exorcist.
Oh, so it's like almost like you graduate?
Yeah,
or?
but there are only some that are allowed to do it.
You can skip deacon and go right to priest though, right?
No, you can't.
No?
You go right.
You
through
go
it.
to the seminary?
You go to the seminary. You can do it all at once. I mean, they don't. I mean, the seminary, you become a deacon about a year before you become a priest.
Okay.
Sometimes you become a subdeacon and a deacon together.
Fascinating.
The vow of celibacy comes with the priesthood. And the ability you can distribute communion as now, so can what they call lay deacons. But a deacon cannot consecrate the Eucharist. A deacon cannot perform the sacrament of penance. A deacon cannot give the last rites. A deacon can baptize, but every Christian can baptize.
Can they take confessions?
They cannot.
Oh, okay.
All of those major sacramental powers are reserved to the priest, one excluded, confirmation. That can only be done by a bishop. And holy orders, that can only be done by a bishop.
Confirmation, like confirming
after you've been in the church for a period of time, renewing your baptismal vows.
Wow. So those
confirmation
bishops
can only be done by a bishop, and ordination of a priest can only be done by a bishop.
Wow.
A priest cannot ordain another priest.
So those bishops, they must know everyone.
The cardinal has no additional sacramental powers, nor does an archbishop. He just has more judicial powers, more administrative powers, but no more. There's nothing that a cardinal can do that a bishop can't.
Yeah. Now their major function is to elect the
except
Pope.
Vote for the Pope.
Yeah, their major function is to vote for the Pope. What else do they vote on?
It isn't their major function. Their major function is to act as an advisory body to the Pope.
Body to the Pope.
Not used very much by Francis. Used extensively by John Paul II and by Pope John the 23rd. Yeah. In fact, that's the Vatican Council was made up of all of the cardinals and the.
Speaking of Francis, what if we added a 5th sticking point, a vow of poverty for the College of Cardinals?
He has a vow of poverty.
Who does?
A Franciscan, as a Jesuit.
Oh, so that's, yeah, okay.
He as an individual vow of poverty. The vow of poverty does not come along with the priesthood. The vow of poverty comes along with belonging to a religious order that were established starting in about the 3rd century of the church. And some of the great saints of the church established their own orders. So he's very devoted to St. Francis. And it's strange, he's a Jesuit. St. Francis established probably the largest order in the church, the Franciscans. And Franciscans take a vow of poverty. St. Dominic established the Dominicans. They take an oath of poverty. Franciscans were established in Italy. The Dominicans were established in Spain. Now, the Jesuits were established in Spain by St. Ignatius Loyola, who was a Spanish soldier who was on his deathbed and converted and decided to create an army for Christ. And the Jesuits were built originally like an army. And they were oftentimes the biggest antagonist of the Pope. and not necessarily the most liberal, the most cantankerous,
And the most,
and the most intellectual, or they claim to be the most intellectual. A lot of others, like the Dominicans and my own brothers who taught me, the Christian brothers who dedicate themselves just to teaching, feel that they're just as scholarly, just as accomplished, and maybe a little more balanced. But so let's go on with the ones that we see as the possible, because it sort of lines up the sides here. Not on every issue, but we'll go through that in a minute. But the first one that you see there, Cardinal Sarah, comes from Guinea. He'd be the first African American or black pope. No, I'm sorry, he wouldn't be. What am I saying? Back in the 8th century and 9th century, and we had African popes.
Is that right?
Yeah, there have been about 4 or 5. We'll go back and dig them out for you. Some of them saints. So stop it, Rudy. Give people accurate information. Don't be like CNN. The one next to him here is the one that Ted likes the best. This is Ted's choice, Cardinal Pizzaballa. Now, luckily for Cardinal Pizzaballa, he's also the choice of many of the cardinals. Because if he was just Ted's choice, although Ted is a Catholic, he would have no vote, nor am I. But Cardinal Pizzaballa, who has the nicest name that we just love, right? He on October 7, 2023, listen to this. He was the patriarch in Jerusalem. He offered himself to Hamas in exchange for the release of the children held hostage. He said, "Take me, let the children go." And he went up to them and tried to negotiate with them.
Oh, man.
That's a very, very impressive man. From what we know, although I don't think he's as published. So therefore, when they're not as published, their ideas aren't as laid out, but he is published. He would be considered conservative leaning. He'd be Sarah would be very, very acceptable to the right wing and to a lot of the recent converts who are converting for a traditional church. And he probably would bring about a traditional church as fast as possible. Pizzaballa is a conservative, but with a little less edge, and maybe could be, given the influences, it's like being on the Supreme Court, given the influences of the papacy, might turn out to be more of a moderate, but certainly is not a left-winger, not a Francis.
And how do you top that name? I actually feel bad that he'll have to give it up if he wins the conclave.
Well, there are a lot of cardinals that don't want to be pope. You think every cardinal wants to be a pope? Yeah,
well, it's a lot to put on your shoulders, right?
Yeah. And even
and God chooses, really.
How about this? These men, a lot of these men, obviously, a lot of these men are men, and they have the frailties of a man, ambition, ego, but a lot of them are not just regular men like you and me. They really do have this religious calling. And they are for real. Just because some of them aren't doesn't mean some of them are. And more than you think. There are more than a few that do not feel worthy. More than a few that do not feel worthy. Some of them are wrong, and some of them may be right. They don't feel they're worthy in morally. They don't feel they're worthy intellectually.
Well, how can you feel worthy at
Well, you can't, but you can, right?
Take it.
He's like, you're like, I get
it. Jimmy Carter once said, "I never thought I could be president until I met the presidents. And they were all dopier than me." I'm not sure that's true.
That's a good line, though.
But I never. Appreciate that line. You've met the presidents now, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to ask you if you thought you could be president or not, but it's not like that far beyond.
It becomes attainable once you see it.
Well, I'm like a remarkable person myself, so
I mean, it's not
just on TV, right? It's not just the White House on TV. Like
so these people
becomes attainable.
Know the popes. But they also know the ideal. And they may not think the Pope has reached the ideal. And they may not think they could reach the ideal. So this is a complicated combination which brings into play every part of the human personality, including the supernatural. So Cardinal Pizzaballa is let's mark him a conservative choice. Not as conservative as Sarah, but conservative. Cardinal Erdo is from Hungary. He is considered leaning conservative. Now, I don't know his positions on other things. I don't know his position on Latin Mass. I don't know his position on married priesthood, female priests. But his issue is there are no grounds for considering homosexual unions to be in any way similar or even remotely analogous to God's plan for marriage and family. But he also noted that such individuals should be treated with respect and dignity. So his objection to Francis would be Francis allowing the blessing of gay unions, not marriage, but the blessing of gay unions, suggesting that there was something holy about them, where he would, I guess, think that they operate against God's plan for procreation. I have not read him, so I can't tell you, nor do I know how he is otherwise conservative. He is from Hungary with a conservative government now, right? And a very anti-communist government. And I would suspect that I should add to the list that I made relations with China, which have many of the cardinals very upset because, well, you're going to see this in a minute. So there are a lot of issues here that go way beyond the church. And you do have to understand that the church has influence way beyond the church. I listened last night to a Protestant minister who said the most important thing for Protestants is who gets elected pope, because we don't have such a thing. And we'll react off him. We'll react off, our right and our left will react off him. And our left was very empowered by Francis, meaning Protestant left. And our Protestant right is rooting very, very hard for another Benedict or John Paul. He said because it has since there's no other single person who speaks out on the Christian religion with that kind of an attention and authority. He's sort of like the Donald Trump of religion, right?
He's like the spokesman.
He's got the microphone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the Bishop of Canterbury, it's just that one. The head of the Southern Baptist Foundation.
If like a group of aliens said, "Oh, I need to talk to the Christians. I need to talk to the leader of the Christians,"
and the evangelical preachers, the great preachers like Franklin Graham and all, they really weren't theologians. They were more behaviorists about what kind of behavior you should have, or they didn't get involved in doctrinal disputes, female priesthoods, married priesthood.
It's almost more political. It's more political at the Vatican.
Gay priests and bishops.
Wow.
The next cardinal is Cardinal Parolin, who in some ways is the favorite. He's the insider choice. He's the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State often has the easiest track and the hardest track. I would say more Secretaries of State have not made it than made it. The famous one is Pius XII, who was Secretary of State, became Pope. But many Secretaries of State don't make it because no matter how good or bad they are, they make enemies. There's somebody they disagreed with. Now, where did he make enemies? He is an Italian. I should tell you, Sarah is from Ghana, Pizzaballa is an Italian, Erdo is Hungarian, and Parolin is an Italian. He has been involved in a lot of negotiations for the church. His positions are generally moderate, but there is one thing that the conservative cardinals and many others hold against him. He did the negotiations with China that led to the Chinese having a role in the appointment of Catholic bishops, which got all screwed up, still is screwed up, and seems to be an appeasement of communism. That would be directly contrary to the teachings of Our Lady of Fatima and the usual traditional teachings of the Catholic Church, that communism is a mortal enemy of the Catholic Church for sure, but of God in particular, and it is. So he's the architect of the 2018 China-Vatican Agreement, which gave the Chinese regime wider control over the Catholic Church in China, mainly the appointment of bishops and disputes between the Chinese government and the Pope as to who the bishop was. There shouldn't be any dispute.
Now, how free is the Catholic Church to operate in China? I was under the impression that it was
That's
rather
how
restricted.
they apparently got.
It's kind of like what they do with our companies, right? Okay, yeah, you can come in here, but you gotta let us.
There is in China an official Catholic Church recognized by the government.
And are they disappeared? I bet they're disappeared a lot.
With the Pope, maybe. And then there's an underground Catholic Church which gets tortured, and Catholics get killed in China.
That's my impression of it. I didn't even know there was this presence, official presence.
You'd have to look carefully. Do Catholics buy off a certain amount of getting killed by these deals that the Pope makes where other Christians get killed, which would be horrible. And Paroline is a diplomat. The others, particularly Sarah and Pizzaballa, are much warmer people. They would be much more in the style of Pope John Paul II or John the 23rd, a charismatic Pope. And in his own way, if you weren't turned off by how left-wing he was, Benedict was charismatic with the poor. Paroline is described as a cold diplomat.
Like Paroline might find himself at home in, say, Foggy Bottom at the State Department.
Yeah. He might have a good time with all our left wingers in the. Now we have the most liberal of them all, and that's Cardinal Tagle. Where is Cardinal Tagle? There he is. Cardinal Tagle is from the Philippines, one of the per capita largest Catholic countries in the world. He is known out and out as progressive. He has an informal approach, which immediately would turn off the conservatives. There's nothing informal about the church, right? He likes singing, fine, but dancing in church.
Ooh.
He's supportive of the Vatican's agreement with China, which is in a funny place because the Philippines are a target of China, and the Philippine government is mortally opposed to China and one of our growing allies in our effort to put together a coalition to stop China from taking over the world. So he is at odds with a good many of his own people. To me, I haven't completed all my reading, so I'm making no final choices. But he begins number one on my please don't make him the Pope list. And then Cardinal Matteo Zuppi. He's the one with the friendly smile. Based on smiles, I like Zuppi and Pizzaballa the best. Right? Look at those nice smiles. He looks like he's angry. He looks like he's conservative as he is, right? Wow. This guy would keep me back in class. This guy looks like, man, he's going to get you the Hungarian. Woo. I mean, you got some problems there.
And so Tagle, he does not like the Latin Mass.
Pardon me?
Tagle, the Filipino Pope, does not want the Latin Mass.
You got it.
And
he's pretty big on. He's pretty big on get rid of the Latin Mass.
Wait, Paroline?
Paroline, yeah. He's not big on the Latin Mass either.
What the heck, man? I thought he was a smart guy.
Any of the old stuff pre-Vatican II. We got to move on. Be a modern church. So Cardinal Zuppi, who's the Archbishop of Bologna, is part of the more liberal wing of the church. He is the one that might actually carry on Francis's legacy uninterrupted. And his family has ties with the Vatican. I don't like that. I don't like that.
It's like a kid who grew up in D.C.
I don't like ties with the Vatican. The Vatican, the Vatican as an institution over the last couple hundred years hasn't been the most on it. It's a little more like the government in New York City.
Or it's like the swamp, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
Now,
And in fact, Francis was trying to clean it up.
and so how many cardinals did Francis put in, and with their makeup, it's so hard.
Well,
This isn't like a Democrat Republican thing,
we
right?
We can show you that exactly here. How many he did. Here's the breakdown, first of all, of the cardinal electors. Okay, here's where they come from. You have the biggest percentage in Europe, almost 40%, right? Right there in Europe, right?
Yeah.
The biggest percentage in Europe. The second biggest percentage, believe it or not, in Asia.
Oh, come on, North America. Let's pick it
The
up.
third biggest here. 13 in Africa. The fourth biggest in South. North America is 11.85, of which 7.4 is the U.S. Because North America includes Canada and Central America.
Like, know your audience, man. Those Mexico, they love Catholicism.
So that's the breakdown. That's the breakdown of here. I know I have a nice little chart here that will show you what you want to see. Here we go. Okay. These are the cardinals. And you might want to see how the total number of cardinals has increased, starting with Pope Paul the sixth. It's gone from 77 under Pope Paul to 115 under John Paul the second, remained at 115 under Benedict, and Francis has increased it by 20. Having done that, if you see the black boxes there, Ted, and Stephen, those are the ones selected by Francis.
Wow. So we have. But here's
Europe, what he's got almost 80% of it.
But
right?
you can't just assume
75%, 80% of Latin America, 2/3 of U.S., Canada, more than 2/3 of Africa, almost all of Asia, and all of Oceania.
Oceania, that's a new. But
That's
now
that'd be Australia.
you can't assume, though, this is different than American politics, right?
You can't assume that all of them are as left-wing as he is.
Yeah.
He was extraordinarily left-wing. Nor can you exclude the influences that have come about even on him, because he's changed a little, as it shocked him that what he was doing wasn't received as well.
Yeah.
So we don't know really where he was. We don't know really where he was when he died. So that's probably the best picture you're going to get of it. And so where are they now? I mean, we'll over the week, we'll go into more detail, and we intend to do a special on this to get you really ready for what's going on as we get even more expertise on it. But this week is a week of mourning. That does not mean that many of the cardinals haven't remained in Rome at the St. Martha residence, which is right in if you look behind me, it would be the one over this shoulder. Oh, let me put it out there, right behind there. That's where the St. Martha residence is.
That's where is that where they stay for conclave?
Back there, no. The conclave is up. Let me get it right above my head, right there. And right out of there, that little thing there, you're going to see the smoke comes out of those stacks back there. See those stacks back there? That's where the smoke comes out.
They know how to put on a show, man.
Oh, man, this is a show. You didn't get to watch Conclave with us, right, Ted?
You missed out.
But I've seen it. I watched it on the plane.
We do not recommend Conclave, but we
can't.
do.
We can't.
Just at the ending, go boo.
You know what's funny? The first 2 times I saw Conclave, I fell asleep for the ending. So I honestly thought it was a wonderful movie, and I didn't even know.
I can't figure out. I mean, that's what it is. I can't figure out if the Pope is a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
Conclave. He's. I'm going to tell you the ending because I want to screw the movie. They elect a guy. He doesn't bother to tell him beforehand, by the way. He gets elected first, which means he's a sneak. And then they find out that he was born a male. Always thought he was a male until he had an appendectomy in which they found ovaries inside him. So now he didn't know if he was a boy or a girl. And he decided to become a girl. And he went to a hospital in Switzerland. And this was the thing they found out about him, is stay in this hospital. But he rejected the surgery. No, he didn't think he wanted to become a girl. He wanted to have the ovaries removed so he could be unequivocally a male. And then he decided to be what God made him. To which the cardinal who is in charge says, well, what is that? And he sort of gives us the Justice Jackson answer. I don't know. I don't know what I am. The fascinating thing is the laws of the church say only a man can become pope. So what is he?
And he probably had to become a priest prior to that.
Yeah, without disclosing it.
Yeah.
Now, if you,
but maybe he didn't know himself.
Well, if you define, now I'm assuming, please let's not get too graphic. I'm assuming he's a male with a penis and these internal, more or less non-useful ovaries. That happens very rarely.
Probably like, makes you a little more moody or,
I don't know I don't know if you get a period or what, I don't know what happens. But come on.
Well, get yourself pregnant. Oh my goodness, that would be something.
Give me a break. If you
2025.
If you would like to look at that thing on the board, just in case it is Cardinal Sarah, that was the first black pope.
Oh.
Saint Victor from 189 to 198. Remember, there's a big Catholic church in Egypt, the Coptic Church. There's a fairly large Catholic church in Ethiopia. And now, second to South America, largest growing Catholic church is in Africa. Maybe larger than South America at this point. Maybe larger. So interesting days ahead. And I believe will have a lot to do with the future of the world. Because if you spend some time reading some of the things being written or some of the podcasts being done, you will see the impact, whether you're a Catholic or not. You'll see the impact this all has on religion in general, because it's the biggest single spokesman for the Christian religion. The Jewish religion has no such real figure who speaks only for the Jewish religion. And the Orthodox...
Netanyahu, I mean, the Prime Minister of Israel kind of takes a certain role.
But for the Jewish people, not for the Jewish religion.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's the one I don't understand, Ted.
Yeah.
What the hell are these judges doing? What are these judges doing?
Where? Oh, man. And it gets worse. I'm not sure if you saw this, Mayor.
You got something to show me?
They're having backyard parties with Trendaragua.
Well, this is Judge Napolitano on Newsmax yesterday. Would love to get your reaction.
Is he defending them?
Yeah. Would love to get your reaction to this.
Is he part of the judge club?
Ran away, and they did have to chase him. And the reason he ran away is because he didn't go out the doorway to the courtroom from which he entered, on the other side of which they were waiting for him. He went out another
But how did
way.
he know that? They're alleging that the judge told him how to get out.
Well, they'd have to have some proof
Right.
For that. I don't know if
How
this
about you
fellow
said it?
speaks English, but I think they overreached by arresting her.
Wanna
If
close
there's
it down
an
right now?
issue
Yeah.
in a white-collar case,
This is Judge sellout time. Now he knows that they're going to have to prove that she knew that they went out that way. How about, Judge, she told them to go out that way? How about, Judge, she escorted them out that way? What in God's name are you talking about? I mean, this guy is on Newsmax all the time, and I bite my tongue. But this is just completely wrong. Let me read to you the description of what happened from the FBI. Affidavit submitted by the FBI that she allowed an illegal immigrant to escape through a jury door before he was arrested by federal officials. This is Special Agent Lindsay Schlomer, who wrote it along with ICE. And the immigrant is Eduardo Flores Ruiz, who was scheduled for a criminal court appearance before Dugan earlier this month. Dugan was alerted to the presence of, this is an affidavit, it's one affidavit, Judge. Dugan was alerted to the presence of ICE agents in the courthouse by a clerk who was informed by an attorney that they appeared to be in the hallway. So they're there in case the guy is released to pick him up because he's an illegal criminal alien. Dugan confronted the officers in the courthouse. This is somewhat unusual, and told them to speak with the chief judge in his office while demanding that they have a judicial warrant. Officials said that they instead had an administrative arrest, and the judge told them they must obtain a judicial one, the agent said. No, they don't. They do not. This is an administrative case. After the hearing was ended, the judge said they have to prove how she assisted. Here's how they prove it. The affidavit, of which apparently there are 4 or 5 witnesses. The judge escorted Flores through a jury door and evaded agents who were waiting to arrest him. Flores Ruiz escaped the courthouse and was apprehended by agents outside the building after a foot chase. The courtroom deputy recalled that upon the courtroom deputy's return to the courtroom, defense counsel for Flores Ruiz was talking to the clerk, and Flores Ruiz was seated in the jury box rather than in the gallery. No one's allowed to sit in the jury box. So they were put in a special place where they could get easily. The courtroom deputy believed that counsel and the clerk were having an off-the-record conversation to pick the next court date. Defense counsel and Flores Ruiz then walked toward each other and toward the public courtroom exit. Dugan then allegedly got up and told Flores Ruiz, so he was going to go out where they were going to arrest him. Flores Ruiz said, "Come with me." A courtroom deputy told the FBI. Dugan is then alleged to have escorted the individual and his lawyer through the jury door, which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. According to the courtroom deputy, only deputies, juries, court staff, and in-custody defendants being escorted by deputies used the back door. Defense attorneys and defendants were not allowed to use that area. Later, Dugan commanded Flores Ruiz and his attorney to leave through a back door of the courtroom. And the judge never called the case and adjourned it after the guy had left. So let's go back to the little judge. And the misinformation he's giving to the people on Newsmax.
But I think they overreached by arresting her. If there's an issue in a white-collar case with a public official, like there was here in New York with Mayor Adams, you don't stop him on the street and put handcuffs on him. You say to his lawyer, "We need to talk to you about whether or not you will voluntarily surrender because we're about to charge you with a crime." But because they're on a bit of a jihad against judges, they decided to make an example out of this. I think this is the wrong case out of which to make an example. I think she has immunity. She can decide where a person leaves her courtroom from and what she says to that person, and she can't be prosecuted for it. But we'll see. This will be resolved in a federal court. They persuaded I read the affidavit that the FBI agent submitted to the magistrate, which justified the arrest warrant for her. There never was an arrest warrant for this fellow, but there obviously was an arrest warrant for her, and they believe they have enough evidence with which to convict her.
Well, let me tell you about who he was. Flores Ruiz, the criminal she tried to sick back on the public, was facing a 10-year prison sentence. He came into the United States in 2013 as a Biden invitee illegally. He then left and came back again. We don't know when, which means he came back among those that we never get to see, the ones that they hide from you that could amount to as many as 3 or 4 million. But he was definitely here. He was definitely here on illegally, and also on April 18th, before the appearance on April 18th, he was charged with 3 battery charges, the gravamen of which was that he punched another person 30 times. And after a woman intervened to try to help and stop the battering of this man, he beat her. So this is an illegal who sneaks in twice, beats the living daylights out of somebody, beats up a woman, and is coming there for a hearing before the judge. And the judge, first of all, goes out and excoriates ICE for being there in the first place and tries to get him out of there by telling them to go see her chief judge to get permission when they have an administrative warrant, which she could honor. She then orchestrates an unusual, heretofore unused exit by defendants from the courthouse, in which, making sure that they don't make a mistake, she goes out and escorts them, pretty much like the cops who held the door open for the Charmin before he went in and got himself arrested for illegal entry. Except the cop got the key to open the door and acted like a escort at Radio City Music Hall. Well, so did Judge Dugan. The guy is alleged to have beaten somebody up. What the hell does she think she's doing? What's going on in her warped mind? When she dealt with ICE, the agents will testify she had an angry, confrontational attitude. They're just doing their job. They're not used to sanctuary city, sweetheart. It really only exists in the minds of you sick liberals. Sanctuary city is an out and out direct violation of federal law. You're basically saying that the state can tell the federal government to go to hell. That would be as if George Wallace stopped the black people from going into the university. They're no different. You're like George Wallace, sweetheart. She demanded that the officers leave the building. Why? It's a public building. They're there to carry out a duly authorized federal procedure. On what grounds does she have to tell them to leave the building? And tell me, she's off the bench, she's in the hallway, yelling and screaming, and telling them to leave the building. That's covered by judicial immunity? That's a judicial ruling? You can't be in my building? Isn't that all part of the process of hiding and helping a criminal abscond? She put the guy in the jury box where no other defendant ever gets put, and the lawyer. Wait, come with me. Before escorting the woman beater and his attorney out of the courtroom jury door to a non-public area of the courtroom where the chief judge had advised the feds that they could not arrest Flores-Ruiz. So whether she has the power to create this or not, she created an area of immunity for him and put him in that area. So he couldn't be arrested by the federal government. And she had directed people not to sit in the jury box beforehand. Prosecutor said it happened without his knowing about it. This is one day after, as you know, a New Mexico judge and his wife were hauled away in cuffs for sheltering a suspected Tren de Aragua gangbuster at their home. This is ex-Judge Joel Cano, who picked this guy up around Christmas time. and had them living in his home and then eventually living with their daughter. And there's a picture of them posing for Christmas festivities. Do we have a picture of that? Do we have any pictures on this, Ted?
Yeah.
Why don't we show them what these people? Let's take a look at the guy the judge fell in love with so much that she helped him go out the jury box into a room, created a special area for him. Let's see what this nature's nobleman looks like.
Yeah, I got to clean that up. You don't have enough.
Well, whatever you got, just put it up and then we'll identify it. So that's this. Now we're talking about the Wisconsin. There we're talking about the Wisconsin case, okay? I'm sorry, is that the New Mexico case? No, that's the Wisconsin case. That's Dugan on the left. And that is that's the defendant. That's the defendant on the right. And now here's the New Mexico case. This is Judge Joel Cano and Nancy Cano, his wife. At the very bottom there, you see their very happy little family Christmas gathering. These are all Democratic judges, it should be noted. Joel Cano is a Donna Ana County magistrate, and he took him in. He's been a judge since 2011. By the way, just so there was any doubt that the guy was Tron de Aragua, he's got Tron's de Aragua markings all over himself. He advertises the fact that he's Trans de Aragua, and he wears special Trans de Aragua clothing in front of the judge. He's in the Christmas pictures that you see. And he crossed illegally in 2023 at the notorious Eagle Pass in Texas. And he is a registered and violent member of the Tren de Aragua gang. And his daughter or the judge's wife or the commoner gave him 4 guns. They are charged with tampering with evidence and with conspiracy to tamper with evidence, and they have been arrested. Is there any pictures of them being arrested? You see that? I have a picture here of the judge in handcuffs. Now, I don't understand where they come off doing this, or how people like the little judge there thinks this is immune judicial conduct. What, do they have a fraternity where they, I mean, suppose he took out a gun and blew the guy's brains out in court with his robes on. Is that judicial, is that fine? Misleading the federal government? You don't assist them in carrying out their administrative duties? Who are you doing it for the benefit of? A guy who beat a man 90 times and then beat the hell out of a woman who came in illegally twice. What? Please explain to me what's going on. Were they paid to do this? They're all Democrats too.
Crazy. Judge Napolitano thinks we've gone too far.
The judges have gone too far, Judge. And you guys are killing yourselves. You're not kings. You're trying to act like kings. I know that in the courtroom, and you're bullies, but you're not kings. I've had a lot of experience in the courtroom, and I've been before some very great judges. I've also been before people that in the name of God never should have been a judge and have done so much injustice. Even before we became an officially unjust criminal justice system. And just to show you how crazy we've become on this whole situation of illegals, When we come back, I'm going to tell you another story that's going to make your hair stand on end. Mine can't anymore. We'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast.
These
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
We are back.
Well, here we are. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on America's Mayor Live. Well, there's a very, very strange situation that sort of outlines for you, I guess, how strange the whole thing is, right? So we have these two judges, which baffles my mind. The one who excoriates legitimate federal agents, and then we have this couple, this other judge, who takes in one of these animals and actually passes him off to his daughter, who he lives with for a while, and the daughter supplies him with guns. Now in New York, I go back to when I was the mayor. It was routine that we had a contingent of immigration agents. You know, the names have changed over time, INS and whatever. Very familiar with it because I used to run the agency in the Trump in the Biden in the Reagan administration. And then, of course, I work with them as their lawyer, as U.S. attorney, and then as mayor, I work with them. So it was very, very familiar that you would, several days before a release, it all get set up that the person would be turned over to the federal government. The general thinking was that if it was a serious crime, we shouldn't just deport the person. If the person had come over misdemeanor, non-serious crime, send them back right away. Person comes over and rapes somebody, let's say. You send them right back, they're right back again. May not have accomplished anything. So you let them serve their sentence, or if it's theft, you let them serve their sentence, or if it's violence, you let them serve their sentence because they may otherwise never be punished for what they did. But then you work it out, when the immigration authorities file, they still call it the same thing, a detainer. The detainer is an official notice to the warden of the prison. When this person is going to be released, please notify me so he doesn't go free. Because another legitimate part of your government, the Immigration and Naturalization Service or the Drug Enforcement Administration or the FBI, has concerns with him or charges against him. Well, you don't cooperate with that. You actively try to interfere with that the way this Judge Doopy Dugan did? I mean, I know Democrats in Wisconsin are way off the mark, and they some of them cheat like hell. But they just cheat themselves to let this guy back out on the street. So she gets insulted that the immigration agents are in the courthouse trying to do their job? And she goes out to talk to them and excoriates them? They must have thought she was nuts. I don't know that I've ever seen a judge get off the bench and go to the back of the courtroom or into the hallway outside and start yelling at people. I don't think I've ever seen that. If you tell me that's within judicial immunity, Judge Napolitano, you're just sucking up to the judges. You really are. You're part of the, when we got our robes, we became more important than everybody. Well, that's just completely aberrant behavior. That judge shouldn't come off the bench and go tell them where they should be or shouldn't be in a courthouse. They have every right to be in that courthouse. I don't know, it doesn't belong to her or to the Democrat Party or to the crooked slimeball Democratic Party in Wisconsin, which it is, where they mess around with the Supreme Court and issue decisions that are intellectually dishonest. And then she orchestrates an escape so they can't arrest him. She puts him in a place that defendants never are allowed in, the jury box. She lets him out and exit. Defendants are never allowed through. She tells the ICE they can't arrest him there. She makes it hard for them to get him so that he sneaks out and they have to run after him. That's within judicial immunity. The judges help criminals escape as part of their job. That's within the scope of the job of a judge, helping defendants to escape from another jurisdiction. Judge, you think maybe it's time to retire and stop misleading people because of your petty little associations? Things are a lot bigger than you, Judge. This judge should go to jail for a long time. And the ones in New Mexico that were sequestering the guy with their daughter, there's a lot more to that. So let's see what happens. And just exactly how many other judges are doing it. And now in the city council in New York, Adams puts back what Koch always had there, what I always had there, what Dinkins always had there, what Bloomberg always had there. Immigration agents that were on the ready to pick up the criminals that were coming out of jail so they didn't get any chance to rape somebody, beat somebody, kill somebody, eat somebody, or do something. De Blasio, the communist, did away with it in 2015. And they weren't allowed in. And everybody fell through the cracks. Between him and Cuomo's change in the law in 2018, we got about 7,000 to 10,000 people walking the streets of New York that want to beat the shit out of you and kill you. It's not accidental. They wouldn't be on the streets if I were the mayor. We're not even close. It's the reason I brought crime down 60, 70%, and Bloomberg got it down another 70, 80%. We were the safest large city in America. We were the best example of urban renaissance. Anybody say that about us anymore? Not after the communists took over and the Democrats took over. They're doing to New York what the Democrats do to every city. Why you vote for them is your problem. So the mayor, they say, is part of his deal with the Biden administration. Well, whether it was or it wasn't, it was a perfectly legitimate thing to do. He set up an office for the Immigration Service at Rikers Island so that they could pick the people up before they fell through the cracks and went and raped somebody. The city council went to court, found a Democrat hack judge, which defines most of the judges on the New York Supreme Court in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn, because they're appointed by Democratic hacks. And then when they resign, they get appointments for big money refereeships, like the one who framed me and got paid for it. Had she not disbarred me, that the Democrats would have thrown her out of the club and a woman might have to work for a living. This is what it's like in New York. It's a Democrat shithole. So the city council gets Judge Rosado to issue a restraining order that the city, the mayor, can't allow the Immigration Service of the United States government to have a place at Rikers Island. What is she, running the prisons? Who elected her mayor? It's now they're going to now have another hearing way on May 29. Meanwhile, all these people will be falling through the cracks. Isn't that irreparable harm? If one of these people who's let out rapes a little girl, we're going to put Judge Rosado in jail. I know what my predecessor, Ed Koch, would tell me should be done. Please, please, people of the city, stop being brainwashed Democrats. Please, please, please. Do you know the damage you've done to the city by being brainwashed Democrats? Republicans haven't had control of the city enough to have done anything to hurt it. And you've had two really true blue Republican mayors. I'd say Bloomberg 3/4. So you've had two true blue ones and 1 3/4. Weren't you better off with the LaGuardia, me, and Bloomberg? What are you doing? What are you doing in Chicago? 60 years of Democratic rule. Every weekend is a shooting gallery. And black people, who cares about them? You don't. I do. You don't. Just an example to wake you up. An illegal migrant cut loose by the Biden administration has been accused of raping a 13-year-old Florida boy. Look, we don't have enough rapists in this country as it is. Biden brought them in, and we can't throw them out. Samuel Cobos Carmona, a 20-year-old Mexican national, allegedly confessed to sexually assaulting the victim after he befriended him and his 8-year-old brother while they were playing on April 13th. Cobos Carmona is one of the Biden 20 million. He entered the U.S. illegally in 2021. He was deported. And then he came back among the group we don't count, the ones we never saw, the group that is possibly larger than the group we know about. And then he raped a 13-year-old boy in the presence of an 8-year-old boy. That's what we know about. In those years he was here, from 2021 to 2025, how many kids did he rape? How many kids' lives did he ruin? How many more lives did you ruin, Biden, Mayorkas, and all you pigs? And look what you're doing in New York with Rikers Island. So the Democrats are protesting the Chrome Detention Center. because it has all these people who want to rape people in it. They want them out. Come on out. They have found chrome. They don't have to go all the way down to El Salvador to bring criminals up that'll beat you, rob you, rape you, kill you. They got a whole bunch of them in chrome. There should be a little plaque on chrome. Built by Associate Attorney General Rudolph W. Giuliani, 1981. Opened in December of 1981. I built it.
Anything special about that one? Where's that one?
It was to take up both the Marielito excess and most importantly, to take up the Haitian 100,000 a month migration that was going on unhindered until we came up with stay in Haiti. We convinced Baby Doc to agree to intrude into his sovereignty, as we do with Mexico, to put Coast Guard vessels right outside the dock. And when the little ships came out, we grabbed them, held them, made sure they didn't sink, and did the asylum proceedings on the boat, and found that 90 to 95% of them were bullshit, which is what happens when they eventually get tried 5 years later, if they ever come back. And it stopped it cold.
And I was able to process all of them. Wow.
But the ones before it, under Carter, were coming in at 100,000 a month. And every so often, 100 on the beach dead. Bodies rolling up on Boca, Fort Lauderdale, Miami North. When I was Associate Attorney General, it was my special assignment. And I straightened it out, like I straightened out crime in New York, with common sense solutions. And because I'm not a fool, a jerk, an idiot, or a communist. You know, things with India are going really well. And I must say, there seems to be a bit of an extra connection created by J.D. Vance and his wife in the meeting they had with Modi. They are very, very anxious to be the first country to reach an agreement with us. And they seem to be very anxious to cooperate with us in all things Chinese. Now, this is a terrific, terrific ally for us. First of all, it's a larger country than China. Now, its economy is not yet what China's is, but its economy is improving and China's is declining. And with very favorable, very well-crafted trade deals with the United States, they could challenge China. They can also challenge China militarily. They've got an army, been fighting off Pakistan forever. They have an army. They can grow their army. They have unlimited number of troops. They have an unlimited amount of wealth. And it may be, we'd have to do a careful check of this because the Chinese statistics are, it may be that they have a more balanced economy than China. By that, I mean, the Chinese are wealthier, but they've done a better job of eliminating poverty.
Well, and they're higher skilled in India, but they do have a lot of poverty. But actually, the poverty, that's kind of a thing of the past in India. And they have the diversity. What we have to remember is that
they claim to be down to 10% in third world poverty.
In India?
In India.
I could see that, and I'm probably improving. I work with a lot of Indians, and they say it's improving.
Without even buying the Chinese bullshit, Chinese is about 30%.
And you know that
how many
people does that represent of, say, a United States worth of people are in third world poverty?
They're both about one. India is about 1.4 billion. China is about 1.2 billion.
Yeah, I remember. Wow, they already surpassed them by that much. Wow.
And there's been a real switch in attitude. You know, China used to be, India used to be an ally under Nehru of communist Russia. And Pakistan used to be an ally of ours. When I was mayor, they used to have the Pakistani and the Indian parades on the same day.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to negotiate with them. And I had them agree, because neither one of them wanted an inferior position. Every other year, they would get the correct date
So
And
wait,
then-
what?
So let's say it's in August.
What's the holiday?
Independence on the same day.
Oh,
They were split in half on the same day. Probably Churchill's biggest mistake. As many people said, it made no sense to create a religious state. So what was Pakistan? Pakistan was India chopping off a piece of it and saying anybody Muslim can go live there if they don't want to be subjected to the Hindus.
Yep.
So the most religious Muslims went off to Pakistan, which is one of the few religious states. India has a Muslim population, which happens to be, by and large, unless exacerbated by Pakistan, a very Indian Muslim population. They have integrated really well. The Indians are peaceful people who know how to bring you around to something like that. However, Pakistan from the beginning has been a menace and trying to outdo the other Islamic nut jobs. And over a period of time, including with the Afghan wars, Pakistan switched completely against us, including, harboring some of the terrorists that want to kill us. And Bush began the process of bringing India back. In fact, I was very lucky to be there when we made the major agreement with them to allow them the peaceful use of nuclear power. They have nuclear weapons, but they're not allowed to peacefully use the nuclear power. And we allowed them to do that because it really helps them solve the crazy green problems. They can do nuclear power plants.
No.
And they liked Bush a lot. And they had real problems with Obama. They loved Trump first time round, had real problems with Joe, and started worried to try and accommodate China because they'd be afraid they'd be left all alone against China. And with Trump coming in, they're overjoyed. They're overjoyed that they have and have actually been behind helping to put together, I don't know if it's a formal or informal group, which they put together and Biden took credit for, but gave no support to, and Trump immediately endorsed, which is a combination, and this is quite a group of allies: Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, India, Australia. Yeah, that's a pretty good lineup against China. Now, if you can slip off Vietnam, whoa. And you can't tell me Vietnam isn't thinking about it when they're the first ones to walk in and say, oh, we want to do zero tariffs. We want to do business. We have just decided to invest $100 billion in the U.S.
Yeah, we can.
We got to make an effort and see if the administration has done it. They have to. We got to ask the administration for a list of what have all the pledges been so far of money invested and how realistic is it?
Right. Can we come back really quick? Tensions are rising between India and Pakistan currently.
Oh, they're at war almost. They're in line of war.
Is this the next big story that we're going to be really covering? Because it does it.
I think a war between Pakistan and India will be over about as fast as the war between Israel and Hezbollah.
Yeah, it's a good. That's what people.
I don't think Pakistan has anywhere near what India has.
You could be.
I could be wrong, but I think unless they want to go to nuclear.
Yeah, don't think.
Well, that's the scary part of
case,
it, right?
Well, in which case, they could hurt India, and India could completely eliminate them.
Well, like, should we build bunkers and stuff?
As nuclear powers, they are both nuclear powers, but it's like, one's a real nuclear power and the other could hurt a couple of cities.
Might work.
Yeah, but if you're talking about armies and war, India would destroy them.
Okay.
I think they like to mess around, but and look, Russia's not helping them. Russia's got all can take, and you want to lose more Russians, they'll have no army left.
Yeah.
So India, we got to put in a pile of, along with Taiwan South Korea, Japan, number one allies.
Oh yeah, that's a good team right
So
there.
we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to catch up with the. You remember Epstein? I guess he didn't know anybody. We'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast.
These
Welcome back to America's Mayor live from Palm Beach. Now, this is a very, very strange suicide, Virginia Giuffre. She wrote a tweet, an X or whatever, at the time maybe a tweet, and said under no circumstances would she ever commit suicide. And if she did, it would have been, don't write it off like Epstein. It'll be the product of skullduggery. Well, she committed suicide, and everybody's saying it was a suicide. Given all of the shenanigans with the Epstein situation, like where are these names? And Ted, weren't they supposed to be out? But
That's right, Mayor. That's one point of contention with some folks is that we still haven't seen the list, and you start to wonder if said list even exists anymore. I mean, look, if there are some powerful people on that list and we haven't seen it yet, isn't there a possibility that that list is no longer in any one spot? Could it be-
if there is no list being given out, I can see reasons why you might not want to give out the list other than just protecting people, bad people. I could see doubts about the accuracy of the list because I'm
Right.
sure, and this is oversimplifies. I don't know much about the Epstein case. I never knew him, thank God. And I never knew much about the case. I never investigated it, never was there when it was being investigated. I'm not sure I even recognize his face from like social gatherings in New York. But I'm going to simplify it this way. I truly believe there are two types of people associated with Epstein. More than two, but two types. Those who knew and those who didn't know. First of all, he had a very legitimate and successful business in which he made a lot of money for people. And he didn't limit that to perverts. He's going to make money with whoever he can make money with. So you got a whole group of people who could be in his book with him even politicians who took money from him. Politicians who took money from him, not knowing that he was a pedophile, or maybe they knew he was a wild, crazy Wall Street jerk, but they didn't know he was a pedophile. I'm absolutely sure of that. The guy led a very careful two-tier existence, and two-tier probably simplifies it. There's probably a lot of tiers to it. Some people thought he was completely legitimate. Some people thought, some people thought this, some people thought that, and then some people were brought into his world of pedophilia. I mean, there may have been people in his world of aberrational adult sex, whatever the hell that is, right?
Yeah.
You know, threesomes, foursomes, whatever.
Even more.
Yeah, or yeah, quadruples.
Like large rooms full.
Quadruplesomes or whatever the hell. Okay, weird guy. Consensual, not illegal. The Pope would turn over. Well, I hope the Pope would turn over his grave. But now you go over, and now you get into the 14-year-olds. Now you got a crime. No issue, right? Now we got a crime. Or anybody in this category who's forced to have sex with you. Now we have a crime. But anybody in this category, adult, who likes to do this crap, no. So you got all kinds of situations like that, I bet, because this guy was a very wealthy, conniving, smart guy. And I know from the little bit I know about him that I investigated when I represented President Trump to make sure that they weren't going to use it against him, that there were a lot of dimensions to the people that he harassed. He got thrown out of Mar-a-Lago after, I don't know exactly how long he was a member, but a member without creating trouble. Suspicions that he had too often younger women with him, but the younger women were not obviously younger illegal, but just here's a guy of 45 with a girl of 22, that kind of thing. So there are a lot of dimensions to this. So one day he's in the spa at Mar-a-Lago, and I don't know if it's the first time or this happens, but he's harassing the adult female to do things for him, sexual things for him. And he had done it apparently before, and she had dissuaded him. But she had enough of it, and she fought him off, got rid of him, started crying. The head of the woman in charge of the spa came to her. She told her what it was, and she said, well, let's go to Mr. Trump and tell him. We'll get him thrown out. The boss did. She said, oh, Mr. Trump is going to throw him out. He's a member, and everybody thinks he's a friend of Mr. Trump's. So the lady said, well, I'm not, I know Mr. Trump pretty well, but I don't know all his friends. But I don't think he's not like one of his most obvious friends. But even if he is a friend of Mr. Trump, I guarantee you're going to see what happens, because I've had this happen before with some of these creeps. And she said, and frankly, I had several other complaints about him. So you're not going to be this isn't going to be introduced to him without my being able to say there were 3 or 4 other girls who've had problems with him. Apparently, he went after elderly adult women as well.
And so Trump then
they go right up. They get an immediate appointment with Trump. Trump immediately tries to get him on the phone. Can't get him on the phone. Calls security and says, "We're going to give you his picture. Clean out his locker. Clean it out at the golf course. Stick it at security and tell the son of a bitch he's never back in here again." Then the guy tried to get his money back. I don't know if Trump gave him his money back, didn't get his money back, but that was it. From then on, Trump had nothing to do with him. So I know, and I know this on documentary authority. I collected it all because at that time, I thought they were going to go after him for anything. And the one of the strongest witnesses of this is a New York Times reporter who collected it. So this is without doubt. But there's something going on here, isn't there? It can't be nothing. I mean, so far nobody's been revealed. The Prince Andrew through this Jewfree girl, Now, Epstein looks to me like he commits suicide. Sorry.
Suicided. He got suicided is what people say.
Yeah, with a suicide. He didn't die the way it was propounded by the crooked Justice Department, headed by headed by Barr, who has some kind of a strange conflict with this guy.
Obviously.
Originally, when he was going to be AG, he said he would recuse himself because his father had a relationship with him. Then he didn't recuse himself and pronounced that the suicide was a suicide and very legitimate, and stayed in charge of the investigation. And we know that Barr is not an honest man. Barr sat on the hard drive when it would have completely exonerated the president. Now this woman who's maybe the last live witness, aside from Maxwell, who they seem to have made a very good deal with. The woman says to herself, if I just do my 20 years short of whatever she gets off, I don't get suicided. She may know what's really involved here. She says to herself, I like living. But you're not telling me there's nobody involved in this whole thing is for nothing. I don't know. Now, this Giuffre woman was sick, but was she sick naturally, or was she sick because this is what Putin did to Yushchenko? Poisoned him because he was the only hope for Ukraine. I mean, what can I tell you? I'm an investigator almost by birth, and given all my uncles who were cops, and this just is, the whole thing doesn't smell right to me, and it needs one really big investigation, man. It needs Sherlock Holmes, it sure does, or Charlie Chan.
It kind of smells like the Clintons to me in some way. Somehow.
Roger Ailes would love you for that. Luigi Mangione drives me nuts, damn it. And maybe it's because he's Italian. Maybe not. My father got me that way, about Italians. When they were good, we loved them. And when they were bad, we want to be the ones to put them in prison. Maybe that's why I did what I did. I don't know. Luigi Mangione is a stone cold, maybe effed up killer, meaning in his head. You're going to hear something strange from me, but you have no idea how complex my position is on the death penalty.
Allegedly, too, we have to remind everyone. It's alleged killer.
Okay. Allegedly. I agree. Allegedly. Yeah. I think the evidence is pretty solid, but allegedly. Yeah, it's not solid like it is against Biden, let's say.
Yeah.
I don't see the death penalty here. I am very annoyed at the hero worship. And I see why the Justice Department, including Pam, would want to make an example out of this to break up this hero worship. But that really isn't the role of the criminal justice system, to break up hero worship.
Well, deterrence, I mean, you don't want to encourage more of it, right?
No, but you don't encourage it by not having the death penalty.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to me, the death penalty gets reserved for horrific crimes. I'm not sure that fits that category. Where the intent is pure, meaning there's no suggestion of not insanity in the legal sense, but insanity of some sort.
Yeah.
Intent has to be clear, and the proof has to be beyond any doubt, not just beyond a reason.
I'd want the chance. I
don't think this makes it on any of them.
I want the chance to make my case on point one, Mayor. As someone who, like you,
Ted thinks it's a heinous crime.
Opposed to the death penalty. I share that with you, Mayor. Right? We're very, for the most part,
not opposed to it. I am in favor of it.
Limited cases
on a very qualified basis. That I'd be willing to, which I think I've outlined for you.
So that's where I am as well, Mayor. I would argue that this was, in fact, a heinous crime in that, it was so public. and he walked up to him and shot him in the back. No warning, just in front of a hotel. And like you said, Mayor, the fact that this garnered so much interest, I
see, that's the one where I disagree with you. I don't know if that should be taken into consideration.
Okay.
I don't know. Let me think about it.
Okay, if you're
let's think about it.
wondering
And you know my
how,
argument with
But
the,
let's just maybe we have a nice long discussion just on this.
are you wondering?
I would like that with your legal mind,
Yeah,
because
yeah. And
deterrence
so
is a
maybe
big
Yeah,
is a big
deterrence,
part of the
deterrence
law.
is a big thing. But what are you deterring?
And individuals that see him as they like you said, this small but loud group that kind of hero worship him.
Are you deterring people from killing, or are you deterring people from being idiotic hero
From
worship?
copycat. You're deterring people from
You think that all of this could turn into copycat? Well, that's
Right.
a legitimate argument.
right. And but when you prosecute him when you charge him and put him to death,
I
that
look
kind of
at
sense.
somebody-
Oh, see, it's harder to when you have to say it, right? It's harder, right? Putting him to death.
Capital punishment. Yeah, if we're gonna have
Okay,
it.
but okay, so this
Now,
is
how
Scott
about if you're the one
Lebedo's.
how about if you're the one to do it? I offered to be the one to execute bin Laden.
This is one of our favorite artists, Scott Lebedo.
there's I would be right there.
And
with
there's
Scott.
Oh
a-
yeah, well Scott thinks they're all a bunch of
An
jackass.
electric chair
he wants him to
with
get the
a
chair.
Luigi guy. Man,
I like that.
but you know what's crazy? I'm gonna probably buy a few more Lebedo prints after this.
Yeah, he's gonna. Oh yeah,
Well, you
Scott.
got to say for Scott, he stands up.
He's consistent.
I was with him the other night, at the fundraiser, and he said he was going to go down there, and I was trying to figure out what side is he on. I said, man, I'd be really disappointed if he went down there in favor of Mangione.
There've been a few times.
Even though I have doubts about it, I'm much more comfortable with it if you want to execute him than if you're self-adulating him. You know?
But it could have went either way.
But look at this girl here. Now, this girl's not going to go commit murder.
Oh, maybe.
She's just a complete jackass. She thinks
She might
Luigi
attempt.
Mangione is Elvis Presley.
Yeah, that's what we call them.
Well, because
Mentally ill.
I mean, take a good look at her. I don't even know what her name is. And she's got to
She's got
rely
some-
on fantasy, right?
Yeah, she's got. That's right. She's gonna laugh.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you, sweetheart.
This is no laughing matter.
This is Kirsten Fleming, who I think I agree with more than anybody. I wonder if she'll come on my show. I wonder if Rupert would allow her to come on my show. The Luigi Mangione fangirls started lining up Thursday night to secure a spot in the courtroom. Most wore COVID masks. They don't want to be identified. They don't want to be counted, they want to be counted but not identified. That's conviction for you. Don't you like the way she writes?
Yes, big time.
Some guy got online late at night, right?
Right.
He deserves this. Stayed there all night, froze, because he was going to sell his spot for $350. He couldn't get $350. He brought the price down to $50, and they told him to go to hell. It was all for nothing. So I guess the Mangione thing is a little over exaggerated.
The support for him?
Yeah, the number of people, it's
Of
probably minuscule.
Of course, yeah. I don't think it's huge, but
There's
it's
a
enough
circle of the internet that's obsessed with it. There's
There are
That's
groups
circle of
pushing
internet
it.
and everything.
There's a group called People Over Profit who's pushing it.
You know, I heard an attorney lay out the Fourth Amendment suppression case against him, and he seemed articulate, knew what he was talking about. Said there might even be the potential that a lot of the evidence will be suppressed potentially.
How about this guy, Lowell Friedman? He's an Orthodox Jew from Monroe, New York. He wore a thing on his back that says, "Deny, delay, depose." I mean, this assumes that the victim here, deliberately laid out all these cases of turning down claims so people could die. Now, the reality is, wake up, silly, stupid gooseheads. This is equal. Yes, there are companies that unfairly, with all manner of sneaky things, try to turn down claims. Yes, there are all kinds of people who make phony claims. Who does it more? I don't know. Is it pretty close to equal? You're damn right it is. You have no idea the number of crooked lawyers, the number of crooked doctors, the number of crooked claims, and the number of crooked judges that Democrat bosses who put them in office, particularly in New York, can get to make some bucks. The minute you put out a claim process, some large percentage that I'm not going to guess at, but a very, very significant percentage of the claims that you're crying about are phony. And some of them are very real, and you really should be crying about them, and it's a tragedy. Very, very wisely, Kirsten Fleming concludes, but this is a dangerous mindset to believe that when people cannot be swayed with reason, pivoting to violence is not only justified, it's righteous. To believe that the powers that be will bend at the threat of bloodshed, that's not democracy. That's terrorism, which justifies the charge against them. And then, to Ted's point, possibly the execution. So we'll be open-minded on this, but I just want to tell you, I'm coming into it. Like, if I were going to be picked for a jury on the death penalty of him, I would have to tell the judge, I've got an open mind, but a slight reservation. Now, I'd tell him why. And if you want to pick me, I could be persuaded, but I could also not be.
Right.
Well, then they'd probably pick you as a juror, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They'd probably pick you as a juror. That's the exact open-mindedness that they're looking
tell
for.
You, the better lawyer would pick me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more convincing, the lawyer who thinks he is confident has the better argument will pick me because he's going to win me.
But some people are always confident.
Oh, yeah. Too many, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's cover a couple of quick things. I know we're going over, but we're having a good time, right?
We are.
Yeah.
Santos?
Oh,
What
George.
do you think? You think 87 months is too much for his shenanigans?
I do. I mean,
You think that Trump will knock it down a little?
I don't know. I feel like pulling one over on an entire congressional district and like it's so bad, right?
yeah, it's like, but at what point is his opponent, the voters, there's a lot of, and I guess we'd have to see the direct charges. Admittedly, I'm not sure, right? I don't think.
But now, when you think
charged.
of the violent crime charges,
Right,
where people go for less time than that,
that's where I have a problem. That's where my problem is.
if this were like a tough jurisdiction, I'd see it. But this is New York, right? This is it. Let me make sure.
What's that?
Yeah, he was in New York. That's where they brought
Yeah,
him.
Central Islip, the Eastern District of New York. Judge Joanna Siebert.
He requested to spend his prison term in the Northeast. I think, is that where the nice ones are?
Not necessarily. But
No.
it'd be close to, friends and.
You think he'll be? He might enjoy it. Might have a fun time in jail.
No, he's not going to enjoy it.
My understanding is he broke down crying in court.
I tell you what.
Oh well, yeah, but that's true. I mean, that's a Tuesday for him, right?
Steve Bannon, huh?
Oh yeah, well that's unfortunate.
This is too much time. This is way too much time.
I think you're
This
right.
is 6-7 years.
Yeah,
That is a long time.
That's a lot of time. This is to me, this is a 2-3 year sentence.
So, but that's a sentence. 87. How often do they serve the whole thing?
A lot of it, under the new federal rules. Take 10% off immediately. So take it down to 78. Good behavior.
He'll probably teach a couple classes in there,
He's going to do 5 years. For sure. 5 years.
Okay.
That's
Should
a
we
lot.
get, I think he's still doing cameos for $100.
They got to do a lot of cameos for $100. The comedian, did we get any pictures of this comedian who spoke at the correspondence dinner?
No, I didn't even know they had a correspondence dinner.
Alex Thompson,
No, but I know the part you want to play.
who took off after the press for covering up Biden's infirmities.
Oh,
He went a little light on it, but I still have to say he's the only one who's ever brought him up, right?
well, yeah.
You want to take a break while we try to get that?
I got it right
then
here.
We'll go to conclusion.
Ted's got it right here. And
Here we go. Alex Thompson of
oh gosh.
Axios.
Is as necessary as ever President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception. But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it. We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows.
Is that an
Sound like a
applause
lot of
line?
applause, did it?
I think that's more of a shit line.
I say this because acknowledging errors builds trust, and being defensive about them further erodes it.
It
Oh,
wasn't much of an admission.
Right.
It was like it was accidental. They missed it.
Yeah. Not as good as they reported it.
Hey, liar. You knew exactly that the guy was non-compass menace. He didn't know where the hell he was. He couldn't have told the red button from the blue button from the pink button. He could have blown up the whole damn world. He sold out to China. He was owned by China. He gave up an air base 400 miles from China. He did nothing about all the killings of Americans under COVID by the Chinese. He caused Afghanistan.
left the weapons in
He
Afghanistan.
left weapons in Afghanistan that were used to kill the Israelis. He basically invited Putin to invade Ukraine. He basically invited Hamas to invade Israel and then told Israel not to respond from the very beginning.
Jeez.
So you got a lot more responsibility than you took. And a lot of people are going to say they respect you for taking it. I don't. I disrespect you for taking it because you know what you were doing and you don't have the balls to take full responsibility for it. So you're lying again because that's what you all are. I don't know why. Some of you are traitors. Some of you are so ambitious you can't do anything but suck up to your boss or want to be popular with the idiot sitting next to you. Some of you are Marxists, idiot Marxists, and some of you are just too dumb to be doing what you're doing and lazy.
Or tribally committed to the Democrat Socialist Party.
Yeah, but you don't belong in any kind of serious job. And you're the biggest jackass of all. To half admit it, that makes you a lot more knowing than the people who maybe just missed it completely. You made a mistake? You didn't make a mistake. Come on, shithead. You did it deliberately. You know why you did it.
Right.
Because you hate Trump. And because you think you're smarter than everybody else, like Marx did and like Satan did. Take a short break and we'll be right back and we'll finish up with the beautiful topic of the Pope. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast.
These
There's Rudy Giuliani back with you. I can't help but go back to a subject that's about 50 years old with me, and that is the stupidity of legalizing any form of drugs. The idea was, if we legalize weed, we'd have less of it because we get the organized crime out and whatever. Weed is less expensive than it ever was. More people are using it by 3 to 1 just over the last 8 years. And it is much more powerful and much more damaging. It was always so. It was always going to be so. It's the same silly people that you listen to about releasing people from prison and destroying our kids. Every barrier should be put up to substances that destroy your brain cells. And if you didn't figure out that weed destroys your brain cells 50 years ago, you're stupid. The Massapequa Chiefs now are getting more and more support for being called chiefs. They have the president on their side, and now they have the Secretary of Education, who is opening a discrimination case because a big Indian tribe, the Native Americans, have come out in favor of, you're demeaning us by taking away the word chiefs. Chiefs is an honorific term. So is braves.
Yeah, we should honor our native
And there's
peoples.
nothing wrong with Indians, since historically, that's what we were called. Even if it was incorrect, that's what we were called. So if you want to recite history correctly, you don't lose the name Indians.
And you maybe change the name of the Bureau of Indian Affairs too, isn't there? I mean, the
There's
federal
nothing
government.
wrong with Indian. Here's a strange one, Ted and Stephen. Michael Alexander Goss, who's 21 years old, Deputy Director for Digital Innovation. This guy went to work for Russia against Ukraine. He is the son of Juliana Galina Goss, who is the CIA's Deputy Director for Digital Innovation.
Oh, wow.
And he is the son of a Navy veteran.
Well, who knows what's going on in that situation,
So
honestly.
this kid was killed on the front after enlisting in the Russian army.
He might have been, I mean, who knows? Who knows? He might be a
And
hero.
she was appointed.
He might be
appointed in 2024.
I don't
she
know
was
what
a-
he was doing over
She was
there
appointed
necessarily.
under Biden. But you do have to look at it, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I'd be fascinated.
Of course.
I mean, it could be just a horrible, horrible, horrible family situation, but you just can't just pass it by, right?
Right.
So the Pope has now been buried. If you look up there, you get an idea of the scope of this thing. Okay, there's Cardinal Farrell, who is the Camerlengo, who is, for all intents and purpose, what we would call, I guess, in our vernacular, the acting Pope. And he is blessing the very simple casket that was used by Pope Francis to inter his human remains. Now you see the Vatican on Saturday. If that doesn't impress you, nothing impresses you with the power of this church. This is, and now I have to be, of course, qualified from the point of view of having been born a Catholic, baptized a Catholic, educated as a Catholic until law school, wanting to be a priest, studied theology deeply, studied Latin, still occasionally study theology in Latin. Aside from politics, probably enjoy theological discussions more than anything else. And I love this church. And I am aware of all of its infirmities. I don't know if I'm aware of all of its infirmities. That's a heck of a big statement. I certainly am aware of its infirmities, and I have been, based on their Orthodox tradition, in many respects, at different times, not a good Catholic.
Well, you were, like we were talking about earlier, we're human beings. Bible, we are sinners.
I am now,
Never
based
knows.
on the strange rules of the Catholic Church, a reconstituted Catholic. You see, when I was married the first time, I got an annulment and got remarried in the Catholic Church. When I got divorced the second time, I did not. So at that point, when I got remarried, I was technically excommunicated. When I got divorced and now I'm single, I am once again able to ask for forgiveness of my sins and be forgiven. So I am, not that I want you to know my personal life, but I want you to know everything so you can judge my biases. I am now in good standing with the Catholic Church. I am, yes, divorced. That's not the sin. It's the remarrying that's the sin, or that's the barrier.
Jesus was big on forgiveness.
That's in part of and I didn't list it in my list of things, which I'll make more complete tomorrow, in the dispute between the liberals and the conservatives. And that is, can divorced Catholics who are remarried take communion? Divorced Catholics who are not remarried can take communion, so long as they are otherwise in compliance with the rules. Divorced Catholics who are remarried without an annulment and permission of the church cannot take communion. The Pope, honestly, I'm not sure if the Pope changed that. Some of the bishops have and allow you to take communion. In Germany, for example, it's quite prevalent. It's one of the issues, not the biggest, but it's one of the issues between and let's not go hard right and hard left. Let's go more traditional, more progressive Catholics. Okay? And I don't know how that's going to get resolved. But this is the most influential religious position in the world. There's nothing that comes close. The Dalai Lama, tell me what he teaches. I respect the Dalai Lama, but I don't know what he teaches. You don't know what he teaches. The Archbishop of Canterbury, what does he teach? Well, he can't teach anything because there isn't one now. So it used to be that the heads of the heads of some of the Protestant denominations in the United States had more authority, but they're splitting.
Well, and it's so diffuse.
They're
right?
all splitting.
It's not
the
centralized.
Episcopalian Church is in complete revolt. You've got the Episcopalian Church that believes in female priests, bishops, married, gay, male, female bishops, priests, gay marriage. What else? Well, everything else.
Man, I went to church with my friend one time, and there was a lady giving the program, and it was weird. It was weird.
Then you have the Episcopalians that revolt against it. For example, the Episcopalians or Anglicans in Africa, like the Catholics in Africa, are very conservative. They've split. Some have split completely from the Archbishop of Canterbury. Some have split partially. Some have become Catholics. A lot of the new converts into the Catholic Church are not just reentry Catholics that have. The other are from other Christian denominations that have become too weak. And they see in the Catholic Church a sense of strength.
And tradition.
And tradition, which somewhere near half the Catholic cardinals want to do away with. You got a problem here. It's much bigger than you think, and it's going to come to the fore because the Pope, although he has excited a lot of controversy, has kept it a bit under control. Because every time he goes up to the ultimate, he backs off a little. Like it looked for a while like he was going to create gay marriage. But what he did was he created a blessing for gay union. So that didn't satisfy the conservatives completely, but it satisfied the moderate conservatives. Okay, that seems like a fair compromise, some of them said. But there are people on his side who want to go all the way. And then there are people on the other side that say he's giving away the church. Well, that's all going to get worked out in this, maybe. So if you look at that, you see on, I think, Ted, right? I think you see on the red side all the cardinals, right?
Right.
And prelates of the church.
Yeah. Beyond, yeah. There's got to be more than those are not just cardinals.
Well, no, cardinals, archbishops,
Yeah.
monsignors, big shot,
Voting cardinals are up on stage.
big shot priests.
And they totally coordinate what they wear.
Now, where was Trump? Was Trump? Now, when I look down on that there, right? Was Trump?
He was like right in the front.
Was he here?
Yeah.
Or was he here?
Over there, up there.
All right.
Up here.
Yeah.
Right. And this is blocking it, but these are the big shot cardinals here.
Yeah. With that picture.
And there's the Pope.
Yeah.
right there.
I'll try to bring it up. Here. I'll show the president here. We'll bring up a map here, Mayor.
But these are the clerical guests of honor, and then these are the laity guests of honor. And then these are the people standing
Here it is, right there. Look at the screen. I got a map up.
on that screen.
And that's a Pope's body in the middle there. And so that's showing the part that you can't see on the board.
Okay, now but I don't see Trump.
Trump is going to show him here in a second. He's up on the right, the first row there on the right. I do believe they show him here momentarily. And that's,
Trump is an Episcopalian as close to a Catholic as you can get. In fact, I think some of his family is Catholic. One of his sisters, maybe two.
so the president is right there on the right side with other world leaders right there in the front row. There he is. And there he is in the blue suit right in the middle of the frame there.
Where is Melania? Do they not have her?
She's right next to him. to
Oh,
his
there
left.
there she is.
in
of
black.
course. So Melania being so Slovakian has to be Catholic.
So that's the view from St. Peter's Basilica.
So in this part of the show, we did show them the main candidates, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you know who the main candidates are. We're sort of on a bit of a hold right now. So we'll keep going back to this, but we're not going to concentrate on it the way we did in the last week. We'll go back to it again next week. But we'll keep going. We'll keep you up on what is happening. I don't know if you love ceremonies like this or you don't, but I woke up. I woke up at 2:00 in the morning and watched the preliminaries. I fell asleep. I woke up again at 4 and watched a lot of it. And then I watched the whole thing straight through. First of all, I am entranced by Gregorian chant. I don't think there's anything more beautiful for meditation and relaxation and deep thought than the Gregorian chant, named for Pope Gregory, who introduced it into the church. It's chant without instrumental accompaniment. Of course, all the great music of the Western world emerges from the Catholic Church. May I say that as a Catholic?
Yeah, I agree.
Who can match Monteverdi's Vespers of the Blessed Mother? No one. You don't know it probably, but it's one of the hidden gems of Western music, 1600. Claudio Monteverdi, also one of the first composers of opera. But his Vespers of the Blessed Mother, done for the cathedral in Milan, is, oh my God. There's Cardinal Farrell. Incense is used, of course, to indicate special honor and blessing, and to send the blessings up to God. Considerably more utilized in the Orthodox Church, both the Russian, Greek, and Catholic Orthodox Church. There was a great there was a great documentary, I'll find the name for you, that rather simplifies, but makes it easy to understand the difference between Eastern Orthodox Catholics and Orthodox. The first group is just like the Greek, Russian, Ukrainian Orthodox, but they function under the Pope. The second group functions under the Patriarch. And the patriarchs are fighting with each other. The Greek Patriarch, the Russian Patriarch, the Ukrainian Patriarch. Then you have a whole church that I'm not as familiar with, but Dr. Maria should be, because she's a little teeny bit Armenian. And that is the Armenian Orthodox Church. Now, I'm not familiar with it historically or liturgically. I am liturgically. I used to go to their Christmas masses every year when I was mayor. You know why? Because I'm a Christmas lover, sucker, and they celebrate Christmas on January 7th. So I could go have another Christmas celebration with all the Armenian priests who became big pals. I even played basketball with them. Now you're seeing excerpts from the beautiful funeral mass. And, you know, we are going to emphasize some of the serious problems caused by Pope Francis's papacy. But there are a couple of things about Pope Francis's papacy that were beautiful. And unless you are a complete Neanderthal and cannot separate the complexity of the human personality, you know there are good things and not so good things about people, even a pope. I can't think of a pope who more legitimately loved the poor than Francis I, which is exactly why he picked that name. And I love that. He stopped every time. My father would have cried if he saw that. It may be more important than all the disputes we're having, because, you know, Jesus made it pretty simple as to how to access the kingdom of God. Those who are good to the least of my brethren are good to me. Love thy God with all thy heart, and love thy neighbor. I don't know, get more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that ain't so hard. That ain't so easy. In the complexity of the world, it sounds simple, but it's not so easy. And also, may I urge on you paying a lot of attention to this. What you're going to see is a big part of the history of our world. This church that you're watching incorporated Greek mythology, Roman law, Jewish Bible, and then its own revelation. You just talked about the components of Western civilization, didn't you? And here's what it did, each one of them getting equal credit. It took the human being and put him on a pedestal that doesn't exist in any other civilization. No other civilization elevates the importance of human life and the human being the way we do. You want to start debating it? You think the Chinese elevate human life like we do? Of course they don't. Human life, because there have been so many of them, has always been very, very expendable. You think Islam does? When the leader of Islam told them to kill Jews and Christians en masse? No, it doesn't. And you watch how they operate. And they value human life coming into building and the World Trade Center and killing people who were delivering coffee in the morning. Don't get locked into people who make you feel like you're being self-centered or prejudiced, or an objective view of world history, which I'm capable of because I've studied it very carefully. You can attack me. Go ahead. There's nothing that surpasses Western civilization for the edification and glory of human life. Nothing. Of course, we've had terrible, horrendous ways in which we've fallen from that ideal. It's an ideal a bit beyond us, but we have it. They don't. When you're sitting across from Xi Jinping, he does not have the value of human life that you have. If you don't know that, and there may be some people even now, I will not mention names, who don't know that, you will not be able to protect us the way we should. There are people like Putin. Putin I'm much more familiar with. Putin is not terribly different than the mafia professional high-level murderers that I dealt with. The multi-million-dollar hitmen. Hitler joined an organization, the KGB, that, like the mafia, requires that you kill to gain your entry. Life has to become nothing to you. The sick cause is more important than life. The day I met Putin, after September 11th, at Ground Zero, after having met a group of other people, I saw something different in his eyes. I saw in his eyes the same thing I saw in the eyes of the killers that I had prosecuted and the killers that I had turned. And the killers that I had befriended in order to get their testimony in a very, very odd dance that someday I'll explain to you. And never, ever from that day in 2021 has anything Putin said or done changed my evaluation of him. And I happen to think he's a very smart man. I happen to think he's a very crafty man. I happen to think he's a man that can be worked with carefully, but very carefully. And I happen to think if you give him an edge, if you give him a way to do it, he'll try to destroy you. So you're looking at a church that possesses a tradition that it hasn't always, oh my goodness, because the church is occupied and run by human beings, that hasn't always lived up to the great and unbelievable beauty of its teaching, which leads right to heaven, that at times has been as destructive as any other evil force in the world. At times, the devil has taken control of it. But it's one of our only hopes. It's the greatest religious, the papacy is by far the singular most valuable, important, influential, single religious position in the world. And it can be a position for tremendous good and the opposite. So don't fool yourself. It's at a crossroads right now. It's being divided. I'm not exactly sure, and I'll let you know as I study it more and more, how much is it being divided? It's certainly being divided. Is it being ripped apart? Not sure yet. Is this the beginning and the end of the church? I'm not sure yet. Is this crucial? Yes. So we will spend time on this and prepare ourselves for it. And tomorrow we'll return to more coverage of other things and then get back to it as we get closer. Okay? Yes, Ted.
And just one thing, because we know you love to keep your audience in the know up to the minute. All polls have closed in Canada as they decide whether to extend the Liberal Party's decade in power or hand over control to the Conservatives, Mayor. And as of a few minutes ago, some interesting information coming out of Canada. We're actually hearing that their website, the official election website, is down.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds very
And it seemed to be going down as the Conservative was making a late, no joke, late push at the end here.
Yeah, just what they need. Just what they need.
So we'll give you
A
this.
disputed election. They don't have enough problems in Canada.
This is live on Canadian
I don't
television
know
tonight.
I don't even know why we want them as a 51st state. What the hell do I want? Some left-wing bunch of kooks. I got enough of a problem with California and New York.
But beautiful nature.
Yeah, the beautiful nature doesn't vote.
On the Elections Canada website, appearing to be down for some Canadians, for many right now going on the website. This is what they're seeing. We actually experienced it here in our breaking news center as well, though we were able to get on another computer, though some people taking to social media tonight, sending out tweets like this on X. Patrick saying elections.ca isn't working for me. Does anyone else have this issue?
We'll keep up on
see.
that.
We'll see. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 7 on our friend network, right?
Lindell TV.
Good old Mike, and also, but I get confused because we're on X then too, right?
We're also on X. So if you're watching us on X, just
come
stick
on
with
X.
X.
But I'd like you to go on Lindell TV to give Mike some support.
That's right.
Mike's a wonderful man.
Great man.
Also, give him some support. Come on, you can't buy something from him. What are you, a stiff?
Number 2.
Also, buy Rudy's coffee. I'm going to tell you, I had Rudy's coffee this morning, and I was tired this morning. We've done a lot of traveling. I was really tired this morning. And the minute I got Rudy's coffee, boom. But it wasn't a phony one. It was like a really good one. I mean, maybe I'm prejudiced. I probably am, but it tastes so much better than any other coffee. Steven said that immediately, having it.
It's my favorite coffee. I get aggravated
when I don't have it.
When I travel and I don't have it.
Yeah. I don't even want the coffee. I have to put all kinds of garbage in it.
I'll get a coffee, and you know what? Sometimes you appreciate a little variety, but no, I want my Rudy coffee, my bold.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow on Lindell TV at 7 on the Rudy Giuliani Show. And then we'll be back here on X on America's Mayor Live, right? The fastest 1 hour on internet plus soccer time.
Yes. God bless America.
God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply